Sunday?
Great.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
Are you sleeping?
Well, we'll talk some morning to you. Who's Irish in here? Me? Yeah? Cool. All right.
I totally forgot about St. Patrick's Day. It's just all a big blur. I'm going to get pinched.
Yeah, right, me too. Although, it's very much an American.
It's not like,
No, in Ireland right now, nobody is celebrating St. Patrick's Day. It's always St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. Usually, if I was home, I'd be making Kilcannon.
Ooh.
Yeah, Kilcannon. You guys know what Kilcannon is? It's like this wonderful mashed potatoes with cabbage and butter, or you can do it with kale. I prefer cabbage. And like leeks, and it's just this yummy mush of shit. And it's good.
Sounds like it's not on my diet. All that butter and deliciousness.
Butter does it.
All right, everyone, let's kick this off. So I would love to know, I'd love to start out with each one of you, and I would love to hear about your acting journey. How did you get involved in this craft? This might be a little difficult for you. Let's start with you.
okay. From which point?
From your first grade school play.
The first acting gig I actually did was at it was in Mansfield, Massachusetts. And I was a very shy kid. I didn't socialize, that kind of thing. And the JCs in Mansfield, Massachusetts were having a horror, what's the thing?
Party?
No, it wasn't a horror party. It was a horror house.
A house of horror.
This was like in the 70s, right? So here's my story. There was a Satan room that people were lecturing with cowled, devil worshippers and stuff. And a crowd would be herded in, and I would intermingle with the crowd. Okay? I was like a little fat 11-year-old. Okay? You were a plant. I was a plant. So Satan, who was a rammed goat, would proclaim that there was one heinous sinner within the crowd, and so the cowled monks would go searching the crowd. And guess who it was? It was a fat 11-year-old. So they would take me, and my voice hadn't changed yet, and I would scream and yell, and they would pick me up and throw me into a pit, which had a fog machine in it. And I would go, oh! That was my first acting.
That is amazing, and you enjoyed it, and you're like, I think I can pretend forever.
I like this. I like that. I love the effective kind of.
Aww.
After that, I got into theater and kind of did that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun.
It was great.
So from what I've been told, because I obviously don't remember, my mom thought I was very cute, precocious. She thought I might do well in the film industry, and
Accurate.
she tried to get an agent. She got headshots, and I guess she tried to go to the best agent out there. She couldn't find who's the best kids agent. Couldn't get past the front door. She met the receptionist, and she would just keep bringing me back once every week or so and hang out in the lobby and just kind of be friendly with them. And we would say, "Oh, sorry, we're not taking any clients," blah blah blah. And she did that, I guess, for like 9 months, and the receptionist got a promotion to like junior agent or whatever. And the first name she pulled was mine, and started sending out auditions. And I got really lucky. I got the first 3 things that I went out on. So my mom tells the story where the head agent called us in after that and said, "Where have you been all this time?" And she said, "Knocking on your door for 9 months." And I think that Sematary was just like a couple months after that. So pretty quick, I got very, very lucky. Yeah. And I just grew up acting for most of my childhood after that. And it was a lot of fun.
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm asked this question all the time, and I'm like absolutely flustered as to why I went into acting. I was like Andrew. I was completely withdrawn and shy. I remember my first day of school, first grade or kindergarten, my mother said, no, don't talk in class. And so I never said a word. And so I don't know, I guess it became a way to like do something that, I don't know, that nobody could like fathom me doing. And it was so challenging because I was so shy. And I guess it started, well, with some neighborhood friends. We would do plays in the basement, make up our own plays. I'm sure they made no sense. And then we started making movies, and my father had an 8mm wind-up camera, and we would use that. And that led, every year we'd make another movie. And I finally, when I was 19, I made one that won first place at a film festival and got Best Acting Awards as well.
That's awesome.
So, and then
Spielberg.
right. Actually, watching The Fablemans, I knew all of that equipment, the editing equipment, all of that stuff, and then I just kept following it, and because I really didn't have much of a future without something like that. I would have been unloading trucks for my whole life, I'm pretty sure, because I was very insecure and scared, and that's something, just manual labor was something I could do. So I'm glad I found acting, and it's been very, very beneficial for me.
Oh, wow. Well, I've got to sort of settle on really going back to my elementary school as well. You guys have reminded me of that because I had a lot of books. I was a big reader, and so I was asked to read aloud to my 4th grade class, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So, there was a portion of each day I would sit in a chair in front of the class and read Willy Wonka out loud. Oddly, I don't know what was going on there, but no questions asked. And that led to me being asked to narrate the Christmas pageant that year. So we had our little school, our Vine Street Elementary auditorium, and a little stage was set up in a kind of living room, a little faux living room, winter plaid chairs, and I came out and said, "Welcome everyone to Vine Street Elementary School Christmas pageant." And I proceeded to, I had memorized "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." So that was my first big performance. And I memorized it, and I got it out, and I didn't flub a line, and I knew I could do this.
Amazing. All right, so we're all here for Pet Sematary, we know that. I would love to know what are some of the biggest challenges on playing your respective characters, and also some of the delights, if there were any.
What was the last part?
Challenges and delights of playing your characters, if you had any, because yours look tricky.
I think my biggest challenge on set was not to crap my pants. I wish I had more
This is
because I
a
don't remember
really
everything.
difficult one for you, I
My memories of it are so sparse. It's such a big part of my life that I remember all of the stories that my parents told over and over, and seeing the pictures and the whole movies, and I feel a sense of being there. But my memories of actually looking through my eyes are pretty sparse. We actually went back to, it was probably 16. We went back to the location where we filmed and went to the house. Knocked on the door. The family was very sweet. They let us come inside, and it felt like going to a long lost grandparents' house. I could walk through a doorway, and be like, yes, that this makes sense. That I know this is where that room is supposed to be, but I couldn't tell you what it was before I got there. So it was this just really, sense of familiarity.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last, I don't know when, one of these times, I interviewed Elaine here. And she mentioned you, because she was on the set of Pet Sematary, and she said that she was so worried about you.
That's so sweet. She is such a
She's
sweetheart.
the best. She was so worried that you were going to grow up and be, you know, a serial killer or something. She goes, but he seems okay, so it all worked out. But she was so worried about it.
So, for those curious why Heather was on the set at Sematary, we worked together on Wes Craven's new Nightmare, but a cool connection there. That her husband was doing the makeup for Pet Sematary. So I ended up working with her years later, just like a cool, crazy coincidence. Heather is such a sweetheart. She made me cry. She made me cry. Because
that story.
she was only here very, very briefly. She got sick. We got to chat a little bit. It got cut kind of short, but we're going to kind of catch up here soon. But she was very complimentary on my most recent project that was and like it's nice to always hear that, but for some reason it just totally caught me off guard, and I value her opinion so much that I was like, and she was gushing, and I'm like, stop, you're gonna like, what's happening? Like, so it was very sweet. She was, I can't say enough things about it.
Wow, her endorsement on that project, considering it was you and her.
Yeah,
That's
a
big.
lot.
I'm excited. We'll talk about that later for sure.
Yeah, sorry.
So what was it? It was
Biggest challenges.
Okay, challenges and delights, right?
Yes.
Well, I think for me the biggest challenge was dealing with my anxiety and fear being in the situation itself. Because I was a poor actor, I didn't have cab money to get to the airport in New York. They flew me up there. It was the last couple of days of shooting. They took my shirt off and started gluing stuff on my body in a cold trailer. And that went on for like 10 to 20 hours. It took a really long time. And I remember Brad was there and you helped calm me down. We talked about being in New York and theater and stuff. And you know, it was my second film. And so I really didn't know the process. I didn't know like how I was gonna do. I didn't know, it was like that. So I was scared. And I had a cold, I remember. I was scared, I was sick, and it took a really long time. So it was kind of dealing with that, and trying to keep it under control. And yeah,
Really quick. It's so funny to hear you say you were so anxious and nervous because you absolutely crushed the role. You were the scariest thing. I could watch the whole film. I could watch my parts because I kind of remember what happened. I could watch it because of you. You destroyed it. So to hear you say that you were scared doing it is like hilarious.
What else?
Did you have any fun on that, or was it all like, what's going on?
No. I mean, I was okay.
After that.
But like, I think the delight of it is the performing of it. We're all actors, so like, that's why we were there. That's why we wanted to be there. And Mary Lambert, the director, was awesome to work with. Very so supportive. And you, Denise, were there behind the camera. I was so grateful to like be able to talk to you for those lines. I remember being really grateful to you.
Oh my God,
Yes.
my sister.
Yes, I know.
We're there for you.
So the delight is in the performing of it. 'Cause-
It really matters when your co-star is present, even if you can't see them.
What's that?
It matters when your co-star is present before your scene, even when they're off camera. So.
Yeah, I mean, is this thing working? No.
Check the switch.
You know, the really good actor, I mean, it wouldn't occur to me not to be there for another actor. You know, I have had to work with people who were not there for me, and how horrible that is. And I can't imagine, ever not doing that. So that's just like a little insight, what it's like on a set. You want to be generous, and you want the other actor to give the best performance they can possibly give. And part of the ability to do that is being there for them, so they're not acting to a cardboard box or something.
You get what you give.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to hog the.
No.
Oh,
It's just.
oh, yeah. first lead in a project. Well, I mean, of that caliber. And Mary Lambert, the director you spoke of, she and I had worked together on music videos. She came out of the music video world of the beginnings of MTV, and she did all of Madonna's first music videos, and I was in her very first music video with an actor named Judd Nelson, from the Breakfast Club, and he and I were in this music video with Mary, and Mary said to me, I'm going to make a movie one day, and you're going to be in it. And, to actually say that, and then to actually do it, it's like a huge gulf in between. It rarely happens, but it did happen, and she kept her word. And so it was very exciting to be in this beautiful state of Maine, making a Stephen King, film, which I had been a big fan of his writing. Read a number of his books at that point. So it was great. The challenging thing for me was we were there for a couple of months shooting, so we all had houses that we rented. By that point, there was really no hotel where we were staying in Hancock, where we shot this outside of Bar Harbor. And so we all had houses we were staying at. And I had never been to Maine before, and I got a realtor, and she showed me a couple of places, and she showed me this one house, and it was beautiful. It was like on water was coming in, and not the house, but the property. And it was just this charming in the woods. And I said, great, I'll take it. And I rented it during the daytime. And then nighttime came. And I'm in God knows where, the woods, alone, making a horror film. I had to learn how to close my eyes and go to sleep. That was the most challenging thing. I was scared to death out there. But I got used to it. I mean, I'm a city girl. I grew up in LA, I mean, just the sound of the nothingness silence is deafening. Exactly.
Right. Well, for me, the most challenging was the makeup. It was like the first 5 minutes of the makeup, because that was the hardest part. Because I would get to the trailer, and like Andrew said, it was cold, especially in October, September and October. It was cold in the makeup trailer, and the first thing in the morning is they had to glue my hair down to put on the skull cap, and that stuff stank really bad, and it was freezing cold when you're already cold. That was like the hardest part. And then the whole makeup process was all right, because I got along so well with the makeup guys, David Anderson and John Blake, and we had a great time, even when it took a long time. Of course, it was nothing like Andrew's makeup; it didn't take 20 hours. But the problem, what was difficult was when I was finally shooting. The blood was always tacky and wet, so I couldn't. If I like touched it, then I'd have blood on my hand. And then if I touched my cheek, that blood would be on my cheek, and that screwed up the continuity. So I had to not touch myself, right? Because I had blood all over the place, So I couldn't. If I had an itch, I just had to, do that, right? That was hard to be in that position for 12, 15 hours. That was difficult. But it was such a relief to take it off then. And the having the contact lens in my eye would give me headaches, because that eye had to work really hard, even though I could never see anything, but I was trying, and so I get headaches. That was hard. But the shooting, when I was actually shooting, was great fun. And this was the pleasurable part of it, was just the people that I was working with Mary and Peter Stein, the DP, and the whole crew. Everyone was so generous and so helpful in wanting to make this movie good. And because everybody has some tiny little job that they do, and but all of it gathers together to make a good great. The people were really terrific. Even these clowns I'm sitting with up here, they were all right too.
Just like these clowns, it was great.
So as an actor, as your process, you might can answer this better now, how do you develop your characters? Does it start with your script, or does costuming and makeup help you a lot more? What's your process when you're figuring out who your character is and what you're going to do with him or her or it?
Well, I can start with that. Just before we started working on Pet Sematary, Denise Nicholson had done the Joker in the first Batman movie, whatever Batman movie it was, and he said, that in some interview, he said, well, sometimes you just got to play the makeup, and it made sense for the Joker, and I thought about that a lot because I had all this makeup on, and I thought, no, I can't do that. The makeup does the work for itself. I just got to be this guy who's trying. It was very simple. Acting for me was very simple because I was just trying to help people. But I saw myself as a guardian angel, so I put all these pictures of guardian angels on my script. On the cover of my script there was this little drawing I found somewhere of an angel sitting on a child's bed while the child was asleep, and that's how I saw Victor Pascal, as a beautiful, kind, gentle guardian angel looking over the children, which were all of these people, right? That's what I tried to do. And it's best when you can find one simple thing, in a film, when you're film acting or TV acting, one simple thing that really inspires you as an actor, or gives you that, just one thing, because you don't want to get complicated with it, In theater, you can get complicated, but film and television, keep it simple, because much of the work is you have to leave the audience to do a lot of the work. They meet you halfway, So that's my thought.
Wow, I love that, and that quality comes through in that performance, that angelic essence. This particular film, we had the benefit of having a book, having had a book written. And what I always love to do is see what is the writer saying about this character. For me, that's where it starts. That gives you a roadmap and some clues. And we also had, I did with Dale Midkiff, who plays Lewis, and the beautiful Fred Gwynne, Mary Lambert, and Stephen King. We sat for 2 weeks before we started filming, and we read through the script and asked Stephen anything that came to mind, like what is really going on with Rachel and her parents. What was it like in that house growing up with Zelda? We had the benefit of flushing this out with Stephen, which was very rare. I haven't had a situation like that happen again. So it was, and again, we were holed up together in Maine, and I often think about what it would have been like to film that movie on a soundstage in Hollywood. How different that would have been, because being, first of all, on location, away from what you identify as your real world, your life, your family, your house, your dog, it already takes you out of yourself.
Your city.
Yeah, your city. So now we're in this place that they're talking about in the book. And it begins to, you have a different pace. You start living a different way. You start eating differently. You start becoming the person in the book. in the script. It helps you. And, so all of those things, it's very sensitive. You're sensitive as artists, and you pick up on this stuff, and you just come into you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it depends on the character of how I would approach it. Sometimes there's obvious clues of where the person is and where they're coming from, and that's kind of where I would start to explore, but why they are who they are, and like in the case of the makeup, or if it takes place during a certain time period, that's a great way to kind of embody it and get a feeling and a sense of it, and explore, what that does to their life. You instantly feel more confident and able to be silly if you're wearing a gorilla suit. If you're walking around out there, the cosplayers, they're having way more fun because they put that on and suddenly they are the character. So if it's that kind of character, you have that opportunity. If it's not, then it's, we're always somewhat ourselves on some level, so it's going to grow out of that from our own life experiences. But then you start thinking about how would this character react differently because of their life experiences, and try to go from there. One thing I wanted to touch on what you were saying earlier too, and I think this was the genius of Mary Lambert, that because your character was so gory, but you were this guardian angel, it's like that angel and the devil. She's talked about, I think we've talked about it before, the angel and the devil on the shoulder. Everyone thinks you're the devil, but really, the sweet old man next door is the devil on the shoulder, leading them down this path. And it's such a cool, subversive, subverts expectations.
Like, don't you do that?
Yeah, I would echo what you just said, Miko. I mean, the first thing is, as an actor, you have your script as your jumping off point. So it basically tells you 50% of what you need to know, what you need to do. And then the rest of it is whatever your associations are, your interpretation, your imagination. And of course, my imagination is going to be different from Miko, so it's going to come out of me differently than it's going to come out of you. So that's what we work with as actors. I think also I'm a very oral actor, so I hear voices. Of course, I had to make up to work with, and I only had like 3 lines, but something like that. But I think I hear a voice usually with most of the things that I've done acting-wise. So I hear it, and I think I'm a voice actor. That's the thing. Because I don't have a lot of equipment here as a physical equipment, so I think that's right.
For as few lines as you have, they're all bangers. It's great.
And Zelda's voice is like everything. I mean,
that was your voice.
That was your grounding.
that is the most effective, quality. Absolutely.
Okay, do we have any audience questions?
So I read that Stephen King didn't initially release the book.
I'm having a hard time. Yeah. Thanks.
Pass it to the next person.
So I read that initially Stephen King didn't release the book because of the shock factor of a child dying at age 9. So was there any apprehension when you were filming this of how the audience would react to Gage dying and all that?
You're right. Stephen wrote a new foreword to an edition a couple of years ago, and in it he talks about thinking he went too far with this book. And the only reason he turned this book into his publisher was he owed a 3rd book, and he didn't have it. So his wife Tabitha said, "What about that, Pet Sematary thing?" And he did it. He put it in, and he feels in his foreword he writes that this is his most terrifying book that he's written because it deals with matricide. Not the child dying, but the child killing the mother. And that's where he felt he had gone too far. I can tell you that in the beginning, probably for a good few weeks to a month of shooting, I believed at any minute the plug was going to get pulled. And we did actually have a change of cinematographer in the beginning. I think that the studio was very, very concerned. I know this. And the fact that they let us keep going is, you know, a testament to Mary and what she was getting on film. And somebody was in our corner and just said, let them keep going. But it was, I know that Mary was looking over her shoulder the whole time.
Anyone else in this area? Give it to the gentleman right there.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Huge fan of Pet Sematary. My question for you guys is, if you do have a favorite, what would be your favorite work adaptation by Stephen King, a novel, anything by him? Just curious.
Aside from that cemetery, because that's what you need.
Shawshank, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I really like Misery.
Oh, good one.
Misery, you know, that was really great. But I'm also like a real fan of Creepshow and Creepshow. I really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, God. Yes, Misery is definitely a good one. God. Let's see. You know, I know Stephen hates The Shining, but I love The Shining. And I just remember, you know, I mean, Stanley Kubrick is, you know, a genius in some of the stuff he does in that film. So, I love that one.
Did you like the book? Did you read the book?
I read the book. I mean, I've read a lot of his books. I'm trying to think which one, but The Shining still pops for me.
I don't know.
Anyone over here? Green hat. And then let's work our way over.
Yeah.
All right, my question is for Miko Hughes, and I know you've done other movies besides Pet Sematary, you know, like you worked on Full House and Apollo 13 and Kindergarten Cop and West Craven's New Nightmare. Out of all those people, out of all the great A celebrities and people like that you've worked with, though, I want to know which ones were the nicest ones to you, and which ones did you write in contact with after you finished up? Are there any ones that, in particular?
Oh man, gosh. Yeah, I'm very thankful to have worked with the people that I have. They were all pretty cool. There's only a few that I can sort of, one or two that I can think of that were not particularly nice, but you know, nobody can mention names. Everyone, you know, generally is happy to be there and work together, and that's why they are who they are. Is, you know, they're really kind people to those around them. Sorry, what was the last part of your question? I had another thought, but I totally blanked.
My question was, are there any ones you would have liked to have kept in contact with?
Oh, sure, yeah. Actually, recently, I guess it's been a couple years now, starting COVID, it was Yahoo put together a reunion online, a Zoom call during COVID with the cast of Kindergarten Cop. And they had Arnold pop in as a surprise. We thought it was just going to be us kids doing this little, like, catch up, you know, talking and that. And he popped in, and he was very sweet. And he said, when COVID's over, we need to get together. He's going to have us all to the house and have like an in-person reunion. And I think it's probably on us. He said, yeah, reach out when that happens, and then life happens, and now we're out of it. So I think we need to hit him up and be like, hey, dude,
Remember what you said
you want
that one
to
time?
kick it?
Nice. Did any of you want to contribute to that question? Like any actors in your career that have been particularly wonderful?
That we work with.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of them. Almost. I don't want to mention any names, the ones that were very difficult. But
No one up here.
actors are just wonderful people. They're so kooky and crazy and so imaginative and so physical and spiritual and it's like a cross between a clown and Leonardo da Vinci. And it's fascinating. I find it fascinating to work with any actor. There's some that you know that you don't really want to work with again because they make it very difficult because their ego is too big. But mostly actors are very hardworking, very smart, very clever, very intuitive, and they're so brave. They bring their life to the screen, and it's all disguised as something else, but it's all them, you know. It's great company that we keep. Great company.
Hi, thank you. My question is actually for Denise. This is my sister. We watched the film last night, and we were both laughing because I was like, okay, yay, her son's alive, but why is she not noticing the scalpel in his hand? And so you had mentioned that you sat with Stephen and Mary and Dale, and I have to imagine a lot of Rachel's choices in the film were because of her sister and everything that happened with her sister. But did you think about that in your thought process for bringing Rachel to life? Was the shock of seeing her son alive just kind of black out everything in her mind? Did you think about that? Am I mind fucking it too much?
Just a little.
Thank you.
I mean, wow, you know, it was really a journey, and I'm amazed about a lot of it because I was not a mother yet. I'm grateful for that in a way. And Mary wasn't a mother yet. We become mothers soon after the movie, and both mothers of sons. So I was able to really have freedom of imagination with that. It was a little bit probably more freeing than to play that right now, you know, in that way. So that being said, it was very dark and very deep place to go to, and there are clues. You're right with Zelda. And there's that beautiful scene with Lewis and Rachel when she's finally talking about, you know, Zelda, and that she still can't really process this, you know, that she was tormented by it, and, you know, and that is where she lives with that. So it was, you know, here we are making a kind of horror thing, but, you know, we're dealing with some really deep issues in that film. So that was, I think that's the best I can kind of
Thank you.
go with.
That was great. Thank you.
Good.
Right next to you.
Hey, thank you. You all have gave masterful performance. Stephen King just gave me goosebumps. This is a two-part question. One, how was it like working with the master or Stephen King? And what character do you see yourself like as like the best to motivate you?
So what was it like working with Stephen King, right?
Well, yeah, the last question was what character could you really see yourself in that motivate you more out of your roles?
Character motivates us?
Yes.
That we play
Yes.
in our lives?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just in that sense.
Wow, an interesting question. I've been blessed to play some really complicated, complex, fascinating, characters in theater and, on film and TV. They all, you learn something about yourself by playing these people. You have a sort of empathy in life with these characters that you play, and it's your job as an actor to really go into their lives, and by doing so, you learn. So they're all motivating, in that respect, because you get to, for this brief period, go freely into the complexities of another person, and really try to live there for a little bit and understand what motivates that character. Working with Stephen King is, a godsend. It's a gift. It's a gift that keeps on giving. Here we are, 35 years later, having been so fortunate to be part of something that will outlive us all, and have had the grace to do it.
Was Stephen on set?
Yeah. Stephen wasn't, like I said, he was there the 2 weeks of rehearsal. And then I think very respectfully gave the space to Mary and the crew and us.
So mostly kind of just in the beginning.
Yeah, he was there in the beginning, and he basically signed off, and I gave him my copy of Pet Sematary to sign, and in it he wrote, "You are Rachel Creed, and Rachel Creed is you." Love, Stephen King. And so that tells you what he's saying is, now I wrote this, now it's for you.
Sending his kids off to college.
Yeah, you guys go do it. He came back, of course, to play the preacher at your funeral. Yeah, that was absolutely the hardest day of shooting ever. Ever. I had to, just a quick little story about that. So, the whole day of shooting was spent in that church at a funeral, my son's funeral. So I had to stay at a level of sorrow all day long. But I had to kind of keep it, I had to save it for when it was my close-up, obviously, but I also had in the group shots had to be at this level. So, the whole day is sitting at this place. So we get the shoot. The day, it's a horrendous scene. Lewis fights my dad, the coffin jars open. I mean, it's everything awful. And the day wraps, and I am spent. I am emotionally empty. And I have rented a car to drive out to my, haunted mansion out in the woods. And I get in the car, and I am just catatonic. And it's dark, and I'm on a main highway. and it is pitch black, and a fox runs out in front of my car, and I go full. And I stop in the middle of the road, and I get out of the car, and I'm going, oh my God, where's the fox? Where's the fox? And now I'm crying again. I don't know where these tears are coming from. And I'm thinking, I don't see the fox. I don't see any fox, I guess. I don't know, but it scurried off. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm making a movie called Pet Sematary, and I have a fox. And I am, like, you would have locked me up if you had seen this scene. And I got back in the car and drove, to the haunted house, and I called my husband, and he didn't pick up his answering machine, and it was like, and he calls back, and he goes, I'm on the next plane, seriously, are you, losing it? And it was just, wow, that was a rough one. Oh, yeah, good.
What was it like to work with Fred Winter?
Freddie. Do you remember Fred?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I know my parents said that he was like grandpa. We loved each other. We played a lot.
Absolutely.
Very loved.
Yeah.
I really wish I could have had more, since we started doing this, the comments and stuff. But that's the only thing I wish.
Did you guys get to work with Fred?
No, I didn't work with him. I didn't work with him, but we would always pass each other on set, and we had lunch together very often. And we talked. He was just a sweet, generous person, and very funny as well.
Yeah.
And didn't take himself seriously at all. He took his work seriously, but he never put on airs or anything like that. He was in my opinion, he's like, after the film was made, I didn't see it again for like 25 years. And then I watched it again because I had to do an interview, and I was like, oh, what was that movie all about? And looking at it like freshly, like being out of it for so long, Fred's performance is just the spine of the whole thing. I mean, that very beginning when everyone's out in the yard playing, and one of the kids said, where does that path go? And Fred looks over there and says, oh, that's a story. That's a story for you. It just sets up the whole movie right there in that one little comment as the camera's pushing in on him. And it's not too heavy-handed, but it's not thrown away either. It's important. And that sets up the whole movie. And without that moment, I think the movie would be a bit less, And he does this over and over again throughout the movie. It's remarkable because it looks so easy and like he's not doing anything in particular, except it sends a shiver down your spine. So he's a lovely person, lovely.
Without Fred, the whole movie would be
It's
less.
It's like watching a master acting class, He embodies that character so masterfully, and he was inspiring to work with because he set the bar so high, and so we had to, you wanted to bring your A game, and you wanted to be your best with him, and like what Brad said, he was so open and generous and kind, and had been through so much, and shared that willingly. I mean, he told me stories of, having been on the Munsters, which is a show I grew up watching, and being at the top of the television hierarchy, having, you know, a beautiful home and a huge, making a huge amount of money, and a big hit TV series, going from that to zero, to nothing. He couldn't get arrested. You know, he couldn't get a part if his life depended on it after the Munsters. And he literally had to go back to New York and begin again. And he would do anything. He would walk on stage and go, hello. You know, he would say, have one word in a play. He literally had to start over. And he was able to do it. You know, he got back on his feet and kept going. And not a lot of people can do that. That's a real type of character that is willing to do that and is able to do that and be able to be honest about that and share that story. A lot of people like to pretend, you know, they're a hit or a star, and, you know, nothing ever tarnishes that. And the life is rocky, you know, it's ups and downs. So I will always cherish his willingness to expose that and not be ashamed of that. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. I remember one time, he had been shooting the scene with Dale where he says, oh, I think that I'm responsible for all of this happening, for the death of your son, and all of that. And I was coming on at like midnight to work through the night, and he was just finishing up. And I said, how'd the shooting go? And he said, oh, you know, it was this emotional scene, and I was trying to get tears, but there were no tears. I couldn't get them. You know, you can't force them out, so I didn't know what to do. But he said, then we took a break, and so I drank 5 cups of coffee and smoked 3 cigarettes and got back in there, and then they were right there. But this goes on with what you're saying. He was never pretentious about this stuff, or never pretended that he had some sort of spiritual help or something. He was like, it was very practical. How do I solve this problem? And this is how I did it. He's willing to talk about it, you know, which was just great.
But interrupt my nervous system.
There you go. That'll make you cry. Exactly.
So one last thing I want to direct this towards Miko before I let you guys go. Briefly talking about Dylan's New Nightmare. You mentioned this to me when we met in Indianapolis in 2020. And I didn't even know it was out yet. So tell people about it, where we can find it, all the good details.
Yeah, it's a short film that's a continuation of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. The idea being, what if when he came back for Dylan 30 years later? So it's in that continuity. It was completely fan-funded through Indiegogo. We had a shoestring budget, but I think we did pretty well with what we had, and it's the first time I really acted in a very long time, so I was nervous, but I tried really hard. I think it turned out decent, and it's on YouTube. You can watch it now. It was doing very well when it was released, and then the YouTube algorithm flagged it because there's a very brief dream sequence, not particularly graphic or anything, but 2 characters off themselves, and YouTube is very sensitive to unaliving oneself, and it just squashed it in the algorithm. So it's not as organically growing. It's blowing up the first week, and then that just like kind of put the brakes on it. But it's all kind of within the scene. I think that where it's still getting the word out and shared, and it's short. It ends on a cliffhanger. It's kind of potential for more proof of concepts, maybe. It was a lot of fun. I was happy to get to play again after all this time. Yeah, so it's on YouTube. Dylan's New Nightmare if you want to check it out.
Amazing, that's awesome. So everyone, you heard him. Go and find it and share it on your social media so we can get it out there, okay? Yeah? Okay. All right, now that you guys go, please give it up, everyone.
I got some. Yeah, I got some ready. Ready? All right. Center up a little bit more. Awesome. Now I'm the director. Okay. Act like you like each other. There you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's yours.
Can I tweet this, you guys?
And then here's mine. Thank you.
Act like you want to be here.
You get them all. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
See you next time. See you.